Hi there. New and potential clients often ask me whether they should publish their book the traditional route through a publishing company or what's now known as indie, which is short for independent. In other words, this is the modern interpretation of self-publishing. So on today and next week's episodes, I'm going to give you the pros and cons of both. And today, let's start with traditional publishing. First of all, the pros. Prestige. There's absolutely no doubt and no argument that having your book published by Macmillan or Penguin or one of the other major publishing houses carries a prestige that you just can't get by doing it yourself. So prestige is the number one pro. The number two pro is, I can't think of any more. And that's the truth. The prestige is the only reason in my mind for publishing through a major publishing company. So now let's talk about the cons. First of all, it's virtually impossible today to get a book deal with a publisher without an agent. So you have to start there. And this is what I'm talking about today doesn't apply to Stephen King or Seth Godin or these well-established, well-known authors. We're talking about new authors or authors who have only got a few books. So you have to start by getting an agent. And the next thing is, it's more difficult than ever to get an agent these days. And it can take a very long time. You have to do a detailed proposal about your book to send to the agent. And that can be actually harder than writing the book itself. Even if you're lucky enough to get an agent, then they have to hawk your book around the various publishing houses. And sometimes they're not successful. Even if you are lucky enough to get a publishing contract, it will take at least 2 years for your book to hit the bookshelves or the bookstores. Now, if you, for example, are publishing your book, if you're a speaker and you're publishing your book to sell at the back of the room, or if you're a coach or some other kind of business person and you want to use the book for promotional purposes, that is way too long to wait. The publisher has total control over your book. That means how the book looks, the cover art, the title, and even what's inside it. So you will be working with internal editors, and they are very particular, not just about, your book might be very well written, but it doesn't somehow meet an approach that they have to the subject. And so you're really at their whim. It's their version that's published. The same thing applies to the cover and the title. You might end up with a cover and or a title that you don't like, but it doesn't make any difference. It's the publisher that chooses. They have control. So that's control. That's one of the big issues. Another issue is money. You will be lucky to get a 10% royalty once your book begins to sell. And that is 10% of the net selling price. So you might have heard of authors getting these huge advances when they first publish their book. So let me just talk a little bit about that and explain it to you. This money is called an advance because it's an advance against royalties. So that means if, let's say you get $2,000 advance, which is more likely than, $50,000. But let's say you get $2,000 in advance. That means that all royalties that your book brings in up to $2,000 are retained by the publisher, because basically they've lent you that money. And after that, after you've earned the $2,000, then you start getting your 10%. The problem is, and this takes me into the next con of doing this, and that is, unless you're already a best-selling author who's already proven that they can make money for the publisher, the publishing company will do little or nothing to promote your book, to sell it or market it. First-time authors think that when a publishing company takes them on, then they can just sit back and write the next book, because the publishing company will do the selling and marketing. This is completely wrong. The marketing and publishing of your book, the marketing and selling of your book even traditionally published, falls squarely on your shoulders. The author is the one that makes the difference between a book that sells and a book that doesn't. So all in all, the picture for new authors trying to publish traditionally is pretty bleak. And that's why I come down solidly on the side of indie publishing. And next week, I'll tell you why.